In this video, I will give you all the tools you need to level up your art as fast as possible. The reason a lot of artists don't improve as fast as they could is because they approach art in its entirety, trying to learn everything all at once. If they do isolate something, they'll isolate it on a surface level, like focusing on how to draw the hands or focusing on how to draw faces. What we need to do is break down art on a fundamental level. Obviously, you know you're supposed to practice the fundamentals, but you haven't actually done it because you view the fundamentals as this one big abstract thing. Form and value come first, and also the fundamental that nobody else talks about, observation. Here's a picture of my hand. You might think, oh man, there's so much going on, there's a bunch of crazy colors, and there's so much texture, and all the veins and the tendons, and oh geez. Forget all of that for now. All we care about is the basic form and values. But didn't I say doing hand studies was surface level? Well, this isn't a hand study. All I'm concerned about is drawing the basic form and painting the basic values of what's in my reference, which happens to be a hand. And I'm using observation to draw what I see, not what I think I know. And so many artists approach art only learning things on a surface level. That's why you see them in the comments. They're like, oh man, I can't draw hands. I can only draw faces, but only from a simple angle. And I can't draw bodies and I can't draw landscapes. And usually they'll have quite a lot of experience. They've been drawing for quite a while. Had they just put that experience into fundamental knowledge, they would be able to draw anything, because you don't need to be good at hands to draw hands. And we have our hands in front of us at all times. If you think about it, everything you could ever learn from any art hand tutorial, you could learn just by looking at your hand and by thinking. So back to the fundamentals. You're going to approach enough that it's difficult, but not so much that it's overwhelming. So at first, that's just the basic form and values. After a while, that starts getting a bit easy. Okay, let's do the complex form then. Once you get a bit comfortable with that, maybe you can add in trying to have good shape design or good brushwork. And all of this while relying on observation. And the time you spend looking at the world, looking at art, there's enough information to make you a master artist. But we need to level up our observational skill in order to be able to decipher it. So here's how you actually rely on observation when you're drawing. Or rather, first I'll show what not to do. Let's say we're drawing a face. What you don't want to do, which is what everybody tells you to do on YouTube, is to base a face drawing on these arbitrary measurements, like the eye should be one eye apart, and you should measure out distances between everything. This way of drawing a face causes so many issues. This is why you can only draw a face from like a simple angle, because all these measurements fall apart when you apply a different perspective or when you tilt the face. And you know, the whole Colleen incident is just because she tried to use arbitrary measurements to show how you should draw a side profile. And the funny thing is the side profile she actually drew was that of a clinical mouth breather. How you should actually draw a face is to draw what you see. And it doesn't sound very helpful to say that, because you're not going to be able to perfectly recreate what you see when you first start out. And you know, it doesn't mean you can't use guidelines or shapes to draw the face. It just means you should use the guidelines or shapes that you can see. So not only are you gaining experience in how to draw faces, which will allow you to then draw faces from imagination, but you're still gaining experience doing observational drawing, which will help you to draw literally anything else. And observation will make you better at art even when you're not doing any art. Taking a walk, for example, is a perfect opportunity to get better at composition. By analyzing what you can see and thinking, how does this frame the subjects? What becomes the focal points? You can think as if you were a photographer, and you can even take photos, but the thinking part is the important part. Another concept important to understand to learn art fast is headspace. Although our thoughts aren't physical, they take up space in our mind, and we only have so much room. If you want to learn art fast, you're going to have to allocate it some space. The bad news is you probably have very little room to give away right now. The good news is most of the things that take up space in your mind right now is bullshit. You spend an embarrassing amount of time online, and the internet will not only fill your mind up with random stuff,
Bro, weren't you bullying?
and it will make you more neurotic, making you overthink about everything outside of the internet as well.
いや、キスしたことないでしょ?
Sometimes I have this tiny voice in the back of my head that goes like, hey, everyone hates you, and they're not wrong to feel that way.
No, I really wanna... I got some bad ideas in my head, I
haven't been happy since I was a kid. Like, I haven't been happy since I can remember.
What the internet has done to us obviously goes far beyond limiting our artistic growth, but since you've probably already heard all the usual reasons to quit social media, I figured I would try to motivate you from an art point of view. So if you want to get good at art, delete TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and no other YouTuber will tell you this, but YouTube as well. YouTubers love to skip over YouTube when they talk about internet addiction. But how will I learn art without constant art tips from the internet? Listen, you are not stupid. You heard that right. You are not stupid. Your brain can learn so much about art, or anything else for that matter, but you've got to give it space. If you were to free yourself from all these distractions, for one, you'd have a lot more physical space for art. You'd probably free up 4, 5, 6 hours of time that you're just wasting on the internet. And with that headspace, not only comes the ability to learn faster, but you would have so much more motivation to do art. It does not benefit me to tell you to stop watching YouTube, quite the opposite. But I want to be real. I didn't get to where I am by relying on YouTube tutorials. I learned much more by trying to think of how to teach myself.